on. Okay, here's the thing. Earlier today, around 6, the time is a quarter to 9 p.m. So earlier this afternoon, I tried to have this meeting, hangout. Okay, and so what I was talking about, and I ended up talking to myself and God, because that was the only person that heard me. I was talking about acceptance, how to accept something, not cope with or deal with in the terms of acceptance, but in the terms of learning how to receive, learning how to not cope with something, but how to receive one's good. So, in essence, how to receive our good is contingent upon and based upon how much of a consciousness or how great or intense or whatever word we want to use of a consciousness or level of awareness we have of our connection with the one, our connection with God, source of all there is, divine love, it, God, goddess, whatever term, whatever word works, the moon, whatever. Okay. As long as we have a firm, concentrated connection with God. Okay. And the stronger our connection is, will determine the acceptance or the amount we will be able to receive. So, for example, I will use a few analogies. Again, earlier, what I'd like to say is for the benefit of you who were trying to log in earlier today and you could not either hear me or see me or whatever, I deeply regret that experience. Please accept my apology. The sources that I used earlier were Emmett Fox, The Mental Equivalent, as well as Charles Fillmore, Prosperity. I also used I also used this analogy of the cell phone. I'll get to that in a minute. Can you see it? I use this cell phone as an example. It's going to come in handy. Okay, so the mental equivalent, whatever I believe about, I'm going to put this, whatever I believe the strength of God is, and whatever it is I believe about myself, and whatever it is I believe that I'm connected to, if I believe that I'm connected to anything at all. Uh, but even the intensity of the faith, okay, or the intensity of the belief will determine the amount and the strength or the concentrated strength it is that we receive. Okay. So a few of the analogies that I used earlier, and they were coming just like this, but I don't know if they're going to come like this, but more will be revealed. So now, one of the analogies I used is about learning lessons. Um, I used the analogy of a fourth grader trying to learn algebra and how lessons in life presents us in the school of life lessons. So we have a choice. We could either study like the fourth grader in school. The fourth grader is trying desperately to learn algebra so he or she can move forward to the fifth grade. Well, if that fourth grader does not learn algebra, then many things can happen. Either they will be passed on, unfortunately, not knowing algebra, or they will be held back, unfortunately, because they had the opportunity to learn algebra and to study, but for whatever reason they didn't get it. Another alternative is a tutor. They could have a tutor, and the tutor will assist them on their journey of learning algebra. And so it is in life. In life, we have many, many lessons to learn, many lessons to learn during this particular life cycle. Uh, the benefit, it's not even the word I was looking for. The quality of our life, the quality of life is dependent and contingent upon how well we learn the lessons that are presented our way. So I will keep the focus on me. My life has my life is improved daily. Once upon a time I didn't think so. Trust me, my life has improved immensely. And I'll give you a classic example. And I used this example earlier today. Um, there was, which came across as a challenge and not a problem, but it was a challenge. And so I was wondering, how was this situation going to resolve itself? Because all situations resolve themselves. Okay? So this one, not only did it resolve itself, but it presented other opportunities, other windows of monies to come in. Um, so when this situation presented itself, I said, okay, here's a learning experience. Now I've learned over the years to not get so uptight and freaked out just because a situation is presented itself. Why? Because it's like the fourth grader that's trying to learn algebra to move up to the next grade. So in life experiences, we have circumstances which present themselves. So either we will remain where we are, or we will move forward in life to the next level. So the situation which presented itself, I thought initially, oh my goodness, what am I going to do? But then I remembered, Barbara, why don't you practice what you teach? So what I teach is change my thinking, change my life. So first I meditated, and then I thought to myself, okay, how am I going to solve this situation? So I got into the mode of problem solving. I thought about what are the options. So option number one, I explored it, it worked out. Option number two, I explored it. Guess what? It only enhanced option number one. Option number three came up. So with option number three, not only did it bring forth extra money, but it enhanced option number two, which is what I just said, enhanced option number one. So here are three income streams, which showed up all because of an experience that I did not turn away from, an experience that I did not go, you know, run and say, oh, woe is me. But I stepped up to the plate and I was prepared to work the principles of working one's option. You know, that should really be a principle. Working options. Let me think about that. Anyway, so okay now. So let's go back to this phone. See this phone here? Now I think it was Charles Fillmore. Fillmore said something to the effect of the old ways. It was something to the effect of the old way works at that time, but then we're going to have a new way of working it. He didn't word it that way, but that's what it meant. It meant whatever worked before may or may not apply today. So, see the cell phone right here? I bought this cell phone in the year 2009. 2009 is when I bought this cell phone. Let me pull it up where I can see what I'm doing. This cell phone is a Samsung cell phone. It works. It was the top of the line back in 2009. Top of the line in 2009. Well, this is the year 2015 now, isn't it? And although this phone does work, it has every bell and whistle which applied in 2009. I have on here, God is, I am, Ashe. I have that. I don't know if you could see it. God is, period. I am, period, Ashe. Ashe. Anyway, um, the everything works. The plan works. Everything works. It's just that today they have a new set. They have newer cell phones, and they do more. Okay, they stream movies. They they have an Instacam. They have all of it. Well, this one takes pictures, and it doesn't stream movies, but it does everything that I need for it to do. Okay, so it serves its purpose. However, if I want something else done, which applies to today's current events, then this phone is not going to work. I mean, it won't do what the newer phones do. But the basic principles of answering a phone, taking a message, talking to someone, this phone will do it. So I'm saying that to say that there comes a time when we need to upgrade. Okay? So back to the fourth grader. The fourth grader and the algebra. The fourth grader is learning algebra. That's an upgrade from when that fourth grader was in the third grade, because to the best of my knowledge, there is no algebra in the third grade. It may be, but I've never heard of it. And if it is, very good. However, going on to the fifth grade, in life we move through increments. Lessons we learned when we were children, hopefully we have learned those lessons. Where am I going with this? It is imperative that we learn lessons, hopefully the first time around. But that's not the way it works, but that's okay. But it is imperative that we learn these lessons because we do not want our spiritual growth stunted. Stunted spiritual growth is not a good thing. Okay? We can have spiritual depletion. You can have spiritual stunted growth. You can have no spirituality. You can have spiritual drought. They're all different. They're different meanings. Okay? But when you have stunted spiritual growth, then that's, to me, that means that we're not growing. We're not going anywhere. Spiritual depletion means I'm saying that on some level we were spiritual and we are spiritual, but we're kind of like lost a lot of the energy of it because we're not keeping it up. We're not meditating and doing what we need to do. But when one is spiritually stunted, that means that something is blocking that energy. And all of the studying and meditating in the world, and again, this is Barbara's theory, all of the studying in the world is not going to block that spiritual stuntedness. So, what do we do when we are spiritually stunted? First, we admit that we are spiritually off kilter. Something's off. We have to admit that something's off. Okay? We may not know what it is, but we know something's not awry. We don't feel connected. We don't feel intuitive. We don't feel that that we're connected to ourselves. We don't feel connected to, like I might not feel like I'm connected to myself. Okay, and days will go by when I just something is off and I don't know, and it's just off. So what do I do? Well, naturally, we know we as metaphysicians, we know to become still, to get still, get quiet, take some deep breaths, journal, be around like-minded folk, and they will show us the way. If we are spiritually our growth is stunted, and we do nothing to help for it to grow and to flourish, then a couple of things are going to happen. Number one, when it's time for us to make our transition, we're going to come back here and the same thing's going to happen. We're going to be spiritually stunted. Yes. Why? Because there's another lesson we didn't learn while we were here this time. Okay? So that's one thing that's going to happen. Another thing that's going to happen is we're not going to have harmonious relationships, beginning with ourselves. We want to have harmonious relationships. The most important relationship you can have is the relationship with yourself. Why? Because you live within you. I live within me. God lives within me. So if I don't have a harmonious relationship with myself, on some level, does that not mean that I don't have a harmonious relationship with God as well? And wouldn't it be profitable or beneficial for me, profitable spiritually, of course, if I maintain a harmonious relationship with God? We all have relationships with the God of our understanding. It doesn't have to be super overtly religious, but on some level, a harmonious relationship with ourselves, so we can hear the still small voice. You cannot hear the still small voice if your growth is stunted. Don't even go there. It is not going to happen. So the 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 uh, source that I used, the cited source, was the mental equivalent by this is the mental equivalent, and this is by Emmett Fox. This is page 12. This is the last paragraph. This is very interesting. I must have read it 5 times in one day. Check this out. So the key to life is to build in the mental equivalence of what you want and to expunge the equivalence of what you do not want. How do you do that? You build in the mental equivalence by thinking quietly, constantly, and persistently of the kind of thing you want, and by thinking that thinking that way has two qualities. What are the two qualities? They are clearness or definiteness and interest. Clearness or definiteness and interest. If you want to build anything into your life, if you want to bring health, right activity, your true place, inspiration, if you want to bring right companionship, and above all, if you want understanding of God, form a mental equivalent of the thing which you want by thinking about it every day, by thinking about it a great deal, by thinking about it clearly, and by thinking about it with interest. Remember, clarity and interest are the two ingredients. Clarity and interest. You change your thinking and you change your life, but you must be clear about what it is you're thinking and you must be clear about what it is you want. I can't tell you what you want. You know what you want. Your husband can't tell you, your wife can't tell you, your mother can't tell you, your father can't tell you, your boss, your job, your banker, your baker, your candlestick maker. None of those can tell you what you want. You, now others will try to tell you what you want, but the bottom line is only you in your heart of hearts know what you want. Never make the mistake of telling the wrong persons what it is you want because they will tell you that it cannot be done only because they don't see themselves doing it or they may have tried to do something and they failed. And they, in good consciousness and good heart, don't want to see you hurt. Okay? So be mindful of who you share your dreams and your goals and your hopes and your aspirations and your wants and your desires and your needs or whatever it is you want. Be mindful of who you share it with because they very innocently, without meaning to, will tear it apart. And then you'll be left out there like the fourth grader trying to reach the fifth grade and thus may not ever make it. We hope that the fifth grader, of course, we want the fourth grader to make the fifth grade, but you know what I mean. Okay, now let's see. What else before I leave? What else before I leave? So it was Emmett Fox, that was one, and then it was Fillmore on prosperity. Whatever enters into your life is but the material expression of some belief in your mind. Whatever that appears in your life, this realm, okay? We don't know what has happened in the prior realms, but we do know what's appearing in this realm because you're living to experience it. So whatever it is that you're experiencing, just know that if you don't like what you're experiencing, change your thinking. If you like what you're experiencing, then give more of that energy out. Put more of that energy out, and then naturally you're going to experience more good, more happiness, uh, more of everything. I mean, the example I gave you earlier about planting the seed at a situation coming my way and not knowing how I was going to handle it. And so I tried one avenue, it worked, and that avenue led into another avenue. It worked, and then that avenue led into another avenue. You know, if I didn't know any better, I would say that it's greed. It was a test of greed, but it cannot be a test of greed because it came by in the proper channels. So what I do is I'll hold on to these blessings that have come my way. I will hold on and then I will sit and think, how do I want to spend this money? All right. Not only was it enough to do what I wanted to do, but more of it showed up. How does that work? But anyway, this is a test. I don't have a name for it. I'm testing for the sound actually. So this was impromptu. If it works out, then I'll upload it. And if it doesn't, then nobody has to know about it but me. The light of God surrounds us. The love of God enfolds us. The power of God protects us. And the very presence of God watches over us. Wherever we are. Wherever we are, God is there. This is so, and so it is. Thank you.